Hello. So, what if the reason you still feel the same after years of personal development isn't because you haven't found the right approach yet? So, what if it's because the entire premise that you've innocently been working from is wrong? So, stay with me on this one, because if you've ever finished a self-help book and felt hopeful for about 3 days and then slowly slid back into the same feelings, then this might be the most important thing that you're going to hear right now. So I'm Lindsey Elliott, and I'm a coach, and I work with women who are intelligent and really self-aware and have done a lot of self-help or a lot of work on themselves. And today I want to talk about something that might feel a little bit confronting, but also I hope will be deeply relieving. So what if you don't need more work on yourself? What if you don't need to do more work? Not more journaling, not more therapy, not another course, another book, another breathing technique, or make changes to your morning routine. What if the work has actually become part of the problem? Because here's what I've noticed in my own experience and also in the women that I work with. So they don't come to me, they're not beginners. They've read the books, they've done all the courses, they've done tapping and somatics and journaling and affirmations and meditations. And some of them, like me, might have been working on themselves for 10, 15, 20 years. And yet they're still seeking, still overthinking, still anxious, still feeling like just something's a bit off. And the quiet kind of honest thought underneath all of that is, what if there's actually something wrong with me? So I want to answer that question today, because the answer to that might surprise you. So there's something that few people in the personal development world are really saying honestly, and it's this. All of the work that you have been doing, so the things I've already mentioned, the courses, the books, the tools, the routines, every single one of them has been built on the same premise, that there is something wrong with you that needs to be fixed. So I just want you to think about that for a second. So every time you've picked up a self-help book, you're innocently confirming to yourself, I'm not okay as I am. Every time we start a new breathing technique or regulation practice, you're telling yourself, my feelings are a problem, I need to manage them, or I can't handle them. Every time we've journaled about triggers or tracked your nervous system, we're innocently reinforcing the I need to monitor myself constantly, because either I can't be trusted or my experience can't be trusted. And that's exhausting. And it's not that the practices are bad, but it's because the underlying message that they carry is that you are some kind of project that needs completing. So you've innocently turned self-improvement into a full-time job. And the result of that isn't peace, it just ends up being pressure, more things to remember, more evidence that there's something wrong with you, or more evidence that you're not quite there yet. So in this way, the healing becomes its own form of suffering. And when I say that to women for the first time, that often kind of stops them in their tracks, and then they will sometimes say, oh my God, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. So here's the other thing that also happens, is when you've been in this fixing cycle for years, is that you start to believe that because you have tried so many things and none of them have stuck, that there must be something fundamentally wrong with you, something deeper, something more entrenched, something harder to reach, something that makes you the exception. You know, other people seem to get better, other people seem to move on, other people seem to fix themselves, why can't I? But the fact that nothing has stuck is not evidence that you are broken. It's evidence that you have been trying to solve the wrong problem. So you have innocently been trying to fix your thinking, manage your emotions, and control your inner world. And every time the relief was temporary, you just assumed, oh, I must need a better tool, I must need more work, I must need a better approach, or I didn't do it consistently enough. But what if that isn't true? What if you don't need a better tool? What if the issue was never the tool? What if the issue was that you were never broken in the first place, and you've spent years trying to repair something that was never damaged? Now, this is not just a nice idea. This is not just a positive affirmation. This is what I see so clearly in every single woman that I work with, and what I have seen within about myself is that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. There never was. You have just got caught in a cycle and in an industry that kept telling you that there was. So if you are listening to this and you're feeling something shift, or you're really curious about this even slightly, I want you to know that there's a way that you can explore this without committing to months of work if you want to. And so I offer a 90-minute session called Unbound, One Issue, Clear Mind. And it's exactly for women who've been overthinking one thing's been taking up too much headspace, one decision, one pattern, one feeling, something that keeps pulling you back in. And we look at that over 90 minutes with completely fresh eyes and through the understanding that I work with in my coaching. So I like to think of it as like a spa session for your mind. So sometimes we don't need to completely overhaul our life to get help. Sometimes we just need a different, fresh perspective, or one really honest conversation that changes more than a year trying to figure it out on your own can do. So if you're curious about that, then the link to book that and explore what's involved with that a bit more is below in the comments. So if the answer isn't more tools or more techniques or more work on yourself, then what is it? So it's actually simpler than we think it is, and the simplicity is actually why it works. So I want to talk to you about a recent example in my own life where I saw this yet again, was in having a walk in the morning. So obviously a morning walk is something that we are, well, certainly in the world that I'm in, I come across a lot, is that, it's obviously, and it's brilliant for the circadian rhythm to get the light in your eyes. It's brilliant for the digestive system. It's brilliant for mental health. It's brilliant for physical fitness. So many reasons why a walk in the morning is something that is beneficial to do. Okay, it's pretty much a no-brainer. And so this is something I'd heard for, a really long time. And it was something that my mind kind of kept saying, oh, yes, Lindsey, you really must get on and do that. And sometimes I had a little bit of a plan, and sometimes I would do it and then do it for a couple of days, and then something would get in the way and my mind would talk me out of it. Because you'll see with lots of the work and the changes that you need to make, your mind will present it as you absolutely must do this because there's something wrong with you and you need to improve yourself, but then it'll also talk you out of it as well. So just notice that pattern. And so I had this kind of going on where I was like, oh, that morning walk, and then I'd read it or hear it in a podcast and go, oh yeah, I really must be doing that, because also I'm in perimenopause now, and so sleep and the circadian rhythm actually becomes much more important. And then I'd be like, oh, I haven't got time to do that, or what I should be making, So there's a lot of kind of toing and froing in my mind. And then a few months ago, I just heard that information again, and it just landed a bit differently. And it just came from that sense of like inner knowing of like, oh yeah, I can fit that in. I can make that work. That is something I think I would really enjoy. The exact same thing happened with doing yoga, where I was like, I must do some yoga every day. I must, this is something I'd heard, even if it's only 10 minutes, short practice every single day. And for years I used to beat myself up in some way about that, about, I must do it, but I'm not doing it. Or what does it mean about me that I'm just not committed enough. I'm not consistent enough to do, all of the rubbish that goes on in the mind. And again, 2 years ago, I just had this sort of inner knowing of like, oh, I'm just going to do that. And I did. And I've done daily yoga practice now for 2 years straight. Anyway, so back to the walking story. So then the same thing has happened. Pretty much, I have for the last few months now been going out for a daily morning walk, and I absolutely love it, and I really benefit from it, and I don't overthink it, and sometimes I miss it, and that's okay. So, but what I want to point to in this is the two tracks that we've got going on. So we've got the track of thought. This is the narration of life, that inner voice, which is often the inner critical voice, the thing that that judges and criticises and wants you to improve and pushes you along and says you aren't enough, and then also, as I've also talked about, talks you out of it. And then we've got the track of life, which is life just living, the inner knowing, the internal wisdom, the inner intelligence, the same essence that's holding the planet within the solar system and spinning it around and digesting your food, is also running. We've got these two tracks. So on this track here, of the life track, was just suddenly things shifted, and I knew a daily walk, a daily yoga practice was a good thing for me to do. Something that my mind had been chewing over and beating myself up about for years. And this is what's happening all the time. So it's over here when we are lost in this thought track, when we're lost in believing this is what I need to pay attention to, this is who I am, this is where all the self-help, self-development, personal growth stuff lives. And it's never going to be fixed because it isn't who you are, and it's constantly changing all of the time. It doesn't need to be fixed, it just needs to be understood, because this track here, actual life energy, essence that's living you, this is also running all the time. The mind just narrates over the top of it. And the more deeply that we see this, the more freedom that we have, and then all of that need for self-help, honestly, just drops away. Because all of the shoulds drop, all of the pressure drops, and all of the belief that there's something wrong with you that you need to improve is held in this track, in the thought track, in the belief track. It doesn't exist in the life track. So what I want to see again from my story is there's a natural movement in life that happens. It's just there all of the time. And thought narrates over the top of it and makes it complicated and makes it seem like there's things that you need to do to improve yourself. Now, there are things that are naturally going to occur to you that are going to benefit you, help you, like my yoga and walking example. That's absolutely going to happen, but it's not going to come from your mind. The information might come in from the outside world, but the decision to do it when it's right for you is going to come from this track, not from this track. So this is what I mean about it being simpler, and how understanding outperforms tools every single time. I didn't need a better routine. I needed to see that the pressure I was putting on myself was the thing that was creating the resistance, and that I'd innocently got lost in my thoughts again. And this is how it works across the board. So when you see clearly what's going on underneath it, things also like overthinking and anxiety, insecurity, self-doubt, they also don't need strategies to be managed. These all start to settle on its own, and not because you've mastered it in some way, but just because you've stopped feeding this cycle. So I also want to just speak about something that I think a lot of you will also recognise, but maybe you haven't quite had words for yet, which is self-help fatigue. So this is the feeling of actually being exhausted by the very thing that is supposed to be helping you. You know, we can get really tired of doing things like tracking our moods, or tired of journaling every morning, or tired of trying to regulate our nervous system before a difficult conversation, or trying to catch all of our thoughts, or challenge our thoughts, or replace our thoughts. And get really tired of just working on yourself and not feeling like yourself. So if that's where you are, I just want you to hear this really clearly. That the exhaustion is not a sign that you need to try harder. It's a sign that the approach you are taking is not going to get you where you want to go. That's life trying to wake you up to the fact that you're going in the wrong direction, the wrong path, the wrong perspective. Because where we want to go is not getting better at managing ourselves. We want to go where it's going to be free of that. Free of the constant monitoring, free of the internal noise, the inner critic, the inner judger, free just to live without thinking that every problem, every feeling is a problem that needs to be solved. And that freedom doesn't come from doing more. It comes from understanding, and it comes from seeing that everything that you think is a problem about you is only ever held in thought. So I want to finish with something that might actually sound too simple to be true, but I have seen it happen enough times now to know that it is. And that is that one conversation really can change everything. So, and that's not because I've got magic words, because I've seen it, you know, when I've been coached and I've had one conversation that's changed everything. And it's not because I'm going to tell you what to do, it's because I'm going to be able to reflect back to you what is happening in your mind. And when you see that, something clicks. So it's a bit like if you're standing too close to a painting for years and you're analysing every single brushstroke and you're trying to work out how you could have done it better or what's wrong with it, and then someone just gently helps to pull you back a few steps so that you can see the whole picture and you can realise that there was nothing ever wrong with that painting, but you just couldn't see that from where you were standing so close up to it. And also you can start to see that how beautiful the painting is when you're not analysing it, when you're just experiencing it. And that's what the right conversation can do. It can change where you are looking from. So from that, a new place that isn't so heavy, doesn't feel so stuck, it isn't complicated, it often looks completely different. So really it is a subtraction. It is the conversations that I have in my coaching are subtractions of misunderstanding. The misunderstanding being, this is the bit that needs fixing. This thought thing needs fixing. No, that isn't true. It's just we need to know what's already here when we misunderstand, when we take away the misunderstanding that this is who we are. This thought track is not who we are. This life essence is who we are. So you don't need to overhaul your entire life. Sometimes we don't need something that's going to take a year. Sometimes we just need to look at the one thing that's taking up a lot of headspace or one issue that just keeps pulling you back in, and take 90 minutes of your life just to look at that really clearly. So if that is where you are right now, I would really encourage you to have a look at coming to have that 90-minute call with me. One issue, clear mind. And we can look at it together in a completely different way. No homework, no follow-up, just getting really clear on the one thing that's doing your head in. So the link to book that is below. And if you're sitting here thinking, but what if my issue is too complicated for one session? I hear that a lot, and it usually isn't. Sometimes, yes, absolutely, we need to go deeper into something because we need to see the repeating patterns and to really hold this understanding in place. Sometimes we need longer, but sometimes we don't. So thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope that it helped you to see that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you, and that maybe just some simple misunderstandings are going to help you to be able to let go of working on yourself. And if it has resonated, please do like it. Please do consider subscribing to my channel or sharing this video with someone that you love. And I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.